Hi, everyone. Y'all are amazing people. And I don't know how to thank you guys for all that y'all have done for my family, but especially for my baby. And I just want y'all to know that she was amazing and she would truthfully love every single one of you because she loves every human that she has ever met.
So she's still talking to you, and what did she say?
She was burned out in Kidnapper. And what he thought.
Are you a kidnapper? Those 4 words were spoken by a 7-year-old girl. Her name was Athena Strand. She was sitting inside a FedEx delivery truck. Across from her was the driver, the man she had never met before, a man who was supposed to be delivering her Christmas presents. Instead, he would become her killer. The audio recording of Athena's final moments was played in a Texas courtroom. Jurors sobbed. Reporters wiped their eyes. The judge had to call a recess. Even the prosecutors, who had heard the recording dozens of times during pre-trial preparations, had to stop and compose themselves. It was the most devastating piece of evidence any of them had ever encountered in their entire careers. The man on that recording is Tanner Horner. He was a FedEx driver. He admitted to abducting Athena, strangling her, and dumping her body near the Trinity River. He led police to her remains. He confessed to the FBI. He pleaded guilty to capital murder. Now, a jury is deciding whether he should die or spend the rest of his life in prison. The sentencing trial is happening right now. Defense attorneys are fighting to save Horner from the death penalty. They are blaming lead poisoning. They are blaming autism. They are blaming an alter ego named Zero that Horner claims was controlling him. This is the story of a Christmas delivery that turned into a nightmare. The last words of a little girl who knew she was in danger. A killer who blamed a fictional character. And a jury that must decide if the man who took Athena's life deserves to keep his own. Let me tell you exactly what happened on November 30th, 2022. And why the question, "Are you a kidnapper?" may be the reason Tanner Horner spends the rest of his life on death row. Before we talk about the killer, let me tell you about the victim. Because Athena Strand was not just a name in a news headline. She was a real little girl with a real future. And that future was stolen from her. Athena was 7 years old. She lived in Wise County, Texas, a rural area about an hour northwest of Dallas-Fort Worth. She lived with her father, her stepmother, and her siblings. She was described by everyone who knew her as a bright, chatty, energetic little girl who loved to talk and ask questions. Her family says she never met a stranger. She would talk to anyone. She would ask anyone anything. That was part of her charm. But on November 30th, 2022, that same curiosity may have been what put her in danger. Athena was looking forward to Christmas. She had been counting down the days. She knew a package was coming. Barbie dolls. Her big Christmas present. She was so excited that she was watching out the window for the delivery truck. When the FedEx truck pulled up outside her home, Athena ran to the door. She was not afraid of the driver. Why would she be? It was FedEx. They bring presents. They are not a threat. But Tanner Horner was not a normal delivery driver. According to prosecutors, Horner had been working for a FedEx contractor for less than 2 months. He had a spotty work history. He had moved around. He did not have deep ties to the Wise County community. He was essentially a stranger passing through. What happened next has been described in court as every parent's worst nightmare. Horner did not just drop off a package and leave. He told investigators that he accidentally hit Athena with his truck while backing out of the driveway. He said he panicked. He said he did not know what to do. He said he made a horrible mistake. But prosecutors do not believe him. They say his story changed multiple times during interrogation. They say he lied to police. They say he fabricated the accident claim to make himself look less guilty. According to the prosecution, the truth is much darker. Horner abducted Athena. He pulled her into his truck. He drove away from her home while her stepmother was inside, probably not even realizing anything was wrong yet. He strangled her to death inside his delivery vehicle. He then drove to a bridge and dumped her body near the Trinity River. He left her there like trash. Hidden. Forgotten. Then he went back to work. The medical examiner put an end to the accident theory. Athena died from homicidal violence, not from being hit by a truck. There was no evidence of a collision. No bruising consistent with being struck by a vehicle. No tire marks on her clothing. No impact injuries. Nothing that would support Horner's claim that he accidentally ran her over. Prosecutors called Horner a calculated predator who built a web of lies to cover his tracks. They said he knew exactly what he was doing. They said he targeted Athena because she was small, because she was vulnerable, because she could not fight back. The defense has a different story. They say Horner accidentally hit Athena with his truck. They say he panicked. They say he made horrible decisions under extreme stress. They say he never intended to kill her. They say he is not a predator. He is a man who made a terrible mistake and then made it worse because he was terrified. But then came the audio. The audio that changed everything. The audio that made jurors cry. The audio that proved Athena knew exactly what was happening to her. During the trial, prosecutors played a recording. It was made inside the FedEx truck while Athena was still alive. Horner did not know he was being recorded. He probably did not even know the truck had interior cameras. But it did. And those cameras captured everything. The audio captures the voice of a 7-year-old girl. Her voice is small, but her words are devastating. "Are you a kidnapper?" she asked. Those 4 words pierced through the courtroom like a knife. Jurors began crying immediately. Several had to cover their faces with their hands. Porters sitting in the gallery wiped their eyes with tissues. The judge had to call a recess because no one could continue. The emotion in the room was so overwhelming that court could not proceed. Even the prosecutors, who had heard the recording dozens of times before, had to stop and compose themselves. It was that devastating. It was that haunting. Think about what those words mean. Why would a 7-year-old ask that question? Where did she even learn the word kidnapper? What happened inside that truck that made her afraid enough to use that specific word? The defense tried to explain it away. They said Athena was just a chatty child asking random questions. They said she was not afraid. They said she was just making conversation the way children do. But prosecutors say the question reveals something much darker. Athena knew she was in danger. She knew she was not supposed to be in that truck. She knew something was wrong. She was trying to understand what was happening to her. She was trying to reason with the man who had taken her. She was a 7-year-old girl trying to talk her way out of being kidnapped. The audio is the most devastating piece of evidence in the trial. Captures the fear of a child who realized she was not going home. Captures the moment a 7-year-old understood that a stranger had taken her and that she was in serious trouble. Horner was on that recording too. He was the one responding to her question. His voice was calm, flat, almost bored. He did not sound like a man who had just accidentally hit a child. He did not sound panicked. He did not sound terrified. He sounded like someone who was in control, like someone who had already decided what was going to happen next. What did Horner say in response to Athena's question? According to court testimony, he did not answer her directly. He deflected. He changed the subject. He did not say, "No, I am not a kidnapper." He did not reassure her that she was safe. He did not take her home. That recording alone is why prosecutors are asking for the death penalty. 'Cause it proves that Athena knew. And it proves that Horner did not stop. He did not let her go. He did not call for help. He knew what she was asking. And he kept driving. The defense has presented an unusual argument. They do not deny that Horner killed Athena. They admit he did it. They are not trying to prove his innocence. Instead, they are asking for mercy. They are trying to save his life, not his freedom. They have put forward 3 main arguments for why Horner should not be executed. First, they say Horner's childhood lead poisoning reduces his moral blameworthiness. Medical experts testified that his bone lead levels were 24 times higher than the average person. They said this damaged his brain. It impaired his judgment. It affected his impulse control. They argued that he literally could not think clearly because of the lead poisoning he suffered as a child. Second, they say Horner has autism. They claim this affected his ability to understand right from wrong. They say he did not fully comprehend the consequences of his actions. They say his brain works differently than a neurotypical person's brain. Third, and most bizarrely, they have introduced the Zero alter ego. Court documents show that Horner spent months writing about a dark alter ego he called Zero. He described Zero as a malevolent force, a separate personality, a demon that was controlling him. He wrote stories in which Zero engaged in homicidal ideations. He described fantasies about throwing small children off of balconies. He wrote about wanting to hurt people, to kill people, and he blamed Zero for those thoughts. The defense claims that Zero was responsible for Athena's death, not Tanner Horner. Zero made him do it. Zero was in control. Horner was just a passenger in his own body. Prosecutors called this a calculated attempt to avoid responsibility. They say Horner created Zero as an excuse, a way to distance himself from the horror of what he did, a way to make himself look like a victim instead of a killer. A forensic psychologist testified that Horner does not have dissociative identity disorder. In other words, he does not have multiple personalities. Zero is not real. It is a fiction Horner created, probably after the murder, probably to save his own life. The defense also brought up the fact that Horner's family has a history of mental illness. They presented letters from his relatives. They asked for mercy. They said Horner is not a monster. He is a damaged person who made terrible choices. But the prosecution fired back. They pointed out that Horner was able to function normally in society. He held a job. He drove a truck. He interacted with customers. He was not so impaired by lead poisoning or autism that he could not understand that killing a child was wrong. The jury is not convinced by the Zero defense. And most true crime viewers are not convinced either. The sentencing phase of the trial began on April 22, 2026. It is happening right now. As you watch this video, 12 jurors are deciding whether Tanner Horner lives or dies. The jury has already convicted Horner of capital murder. That decision was easy. The evidence was overwhelming. The audio recording alone would have been enough to convict him. Now they must decide the sentence: death penalty or life in prison without the possibility of parole. Prosecutors have argued that Horner deserves to die. They pointed to the audio. They pointed to the Zero writings. They pointed to the way Horner disposed of Athena's body like trash. They said he showed no remorse. They said he is a danger to society. They said the only appropriate punishment is death. The defense has argued for life in prison. They brought in medical experts to testify about Horner's lead poisoning. They presented letters from his family. They asked for mercy. They said Horner is not a monster. He is a damaged person who made terrible choices. The jury began deliberating on April 23rd. As of this recording, they are still deciding. The decision could come at any moment. Could come while you are watching this video. If they choose death, Horner will be sent to death row. He will join the list of Texas inmates awaiting execution. That process can take years, sometimes decades, but the sentence will be death. If they choose life, Horner will never leave prison. He will spend the rest of his life behind bars. He will never see freedom again. The families on both sides are waiting. Athena's family wants justice. They want Horner to pay for what he did. Horner's family wants mercy. They do not want to see their son executed. The nation is watching. This case has captured the attention of true crime fans across the country. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone is waiting for the verdict. Are you a kidnapper? Those words will haunt everyone who heard them. A 7-year-old girl trapped in a FedEx truck, asking a stranger if he was going to hurt her. Tanner Horner heard that question. He did not answer it. He did not let her go. He did not call for help. He killed her. He dumped her body. He went back to work. Now 12 men and women are deciding his fate. The verdict could drop at any moment. We will bring you the update as soon as it happens. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you do not miss it. What do you think? Should Tanner Horner receive the death penalty? Does the zero alter ego defense change anything for you? Do you believe lead poisoning and autism should reduce his blame? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Rest in peace, Athena Strand. You deserved so much more. You deserve to open those Barbie dolls on Christmas morning. You deserve to grow up. You deserved a life. We will not forget you.